Okay, so let's talk about anxiety. I feel like a lot of people have anxiety these days. It's not so uncommon.
No.
For me, it happens sometimes that I wake up with a lot of anxiety and I have racing heart and I can't stop it and I don't know what to do. The only thing that happens to me is maybe to dance, to move my body. I listen to my body, what it wants. But that's the only thing so far. What has helped me? What would you like? What is coming to your mind when I talk about this?
I'll be curious about anxiety as a signaling message that it's trying to share something with you. So I'd like to get curious about what's moving inside your system that's causing the anxiety.
Are there some question I can ask myself? Or
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, so to study the anxiety is like to look at it and to notice how it feels in the body first.
So meaning like where it's, I don't know, maybe I feel pain here or here,
Yeah,
right?
follow the sensation, so you stay grounded with it.
So I notice sensation. What's next?
Yeah, because there's a little bit of control in there, see? If you're noticing sensation, you're not just the sensation. So if your heart is racing, and you can notice the heart racing, then there's a space in you that's able to notice the heart racing.
And I suppose I don't freak out about it, right? Because that also happens sometimes that I freak out that something is happening, you know? There's this part in me that is like, oh my God, what's going on? Right?
So the training of meditation is to learn to like create space around an experience. So this noticing, okay? So I notice you're nodding your head. I notice that I'm speaking, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still speaking and you're still nodding. But there's a space around this, which we often call awareness. So as you activate your awareness, you can, I notice my heart is racing. I notice my breathing is going fast. I notice that I'm twitching or shaking or feeling tense. And then you can ask the next obvious questions. What are we going to do about that? Okay, so perhaps I can breathe into it, perhaps I can shake it out, perhaps I can rub it, perhaps I can dress it, perhaps I can take a deeper breath, you know, but it's like you're starting from noticing and then coming into what is needed.
So first awareness, you just notice what's going on, maybe you can name it, and then maybe you notice that you can do something about it, maybe you notice what you need, right?
So think of the different. When anxiety is in like full overwhelm, you adjust the experience. Like I'm just the tension. I'm just the heart pulsing. I'm just fear or terror. So you're just in the emotion or you're in the sensation, and there's no gap. There's no you watching it, witnessing it, being with it. When you start to take a step back and okay, so right now, okay, this is going on. So you're observing it. Your observation is nourishing. You know, it's very, very healing because it creates a space around it, it surrounds it. And the more you become aware of that, you kind of oscillate between the awareness and the experience. And so the awareness can, with its wisdom, can start to bring some more breath there, or some more understanding there, or boundary, or distance, you know, whatever's necessary. But when you're just in the emotion as the emotion, there's no intelligent space, there's no wisdom space to actually offer some guidance.
Okay, so only by observing you're already, let's say, doing the work, right? It's already starting the process.
Yeah, awareness is huge, has a huge impact on everything.
Okay, and okay, so let's say there's this situation I notice, I stay like as an observer, let's say, and then maybe I do some things. What's next?
See, I would slow down there a minute. So you're not just the observer. The observer is still noticing the experience. So I'm still noticing that I'm talking. So you still notice the experience. It doesn't disappear. The heart is still racing. The tension is still there. What in the noticing is then you start to, okay, how do you feel? You give this tension place a voice, like a talking stick. Like if you could speak, what would your belly say? If you could speak, what would your tension in the head say? What would your fear say? I say, I'm terrified. Why are you terrified? Okay, because people are too close to me, or there's too much overwhelm, or is too fast, or I just need. And then you start to consider, well, what do you need in that environment, in that situation? I need more space, more time, more distance. I need to share with somebody. I need to call a friend. But if there's no space created, then there's no room for inspiration or wisdom or guidance to come in. No support structure. See?
Yeah, in the let's say in the space of overwhelm, it's not possible to get the inspiration, right?
Which is why it's good to train before you're overwhelmed. Right? This is always good for anything. Right? It's like you don't often think to meditate when you're stressed or tense or angry, but if you've been meditating every morning for the last 2 months, then it's like you've created a default in your system, which knows more about spacious awareness. So some people call it mindfulness. I call it heartfulness. This awakening of the heart and create more space around your life. And have that as a daily practice, not just when you're anxious, but in all situations. I'm aware I'm drinking a cup of tea. I'm aware that I'm speaking. So you start to create, oh, this is really curious. Then you get really curious, like, who is this awareness? Do you see? Because I was defining myself by my emotional states, or by my thought processes, or by my actions. But if I can be aware of my actions, then there's something beyond the action, or beyond the thought, beyond the sensation, which is very still and very calm. Awareness is very calm. So what do you want in anxiety? You want calmness. You want to come back to a state of harmony. You want to come back to a state of balance. But to recognize that dimension of us, which is always calm, which is our awareness. Our awareness is always ever presently calm and wise and loving and truthful, always here. But we're so busy in the emotional state, or the dramatic process of it, or the relationship reaction game, that we don't give ourselves the spaciousness to come back to what we call presence.
And we let the emotional state dictate our behaviors, right?
It's dictating if you define yourself as it.
Yeah.
If I say I am my anger, then anger's been given.
This is who I am.
I am my anger, I am my anxiety. Do you see? You put them on the throne, and they become the king and queen of your life experience. Instead of I am angry, there's an I am before the angry part. You see, I am is your awareness. And okay, so I'm presently having an experience of anger. I know this will pass. This too will pass. It will. Emotions are energy in motion. They will pass. There are certain intervention practices you can do. I can share a few breath practices and different things, which can help create more spaciousness and actually start to calm the physiology down, which is obviously very important. But if you want to do like a deep dive into the healing of like what is the whole nature of anxiety in the first place, who is the one who's anxious? If your awareness is always calm, who is the anxious one?
That's an interesting question.
Because we create an identity around the emotion or the thought process, and then we think I am that. I'm that identity. I'm that personality. Which really is a defense mechanism. It's an acting out to the world. It's a display of emotion.
Yeah, so if I say I am an anxious person, I let it define me, right?
Yeah, you become part of that club and you join it and you get committed to it, and suddenly it's like, I'm totally in it. It's totally who I am.
Yeah.
Any club, any identification and attachment defines you and limits you. See, the thing is, if you consider that you are spacious awareness first, having a human experience, you see, then we get more into the existential conversation about soul or spirit or heart. See?
I have goosebumps. Oh my god.
So for me, there's like the plaster fix for anxiety, which is there's a thing called it's called the sigh. You breathe in for 4, and breathe out for 8. So it's 4 in, 8 out. And if you do that for 5 minutes, it's like it regulates your system. So it's like you can just try it for a moment. Breathe in for 4, then sigh. I really let it go on the out breath. Like even the jaw is more relaxed. So I feel that your jaw is softened.
I can feel it. Yeah.
So like you drop it. So breathe in for 4, and if you want to, you can even like move your head, like breathe in, and it's like there's new life coming in. I just relax. It's always double the length. See, I've got a blood pressure machine at home, and if you do that breath for 3 or 4 minutes, you can alter your blood pressure by quite a few points.
Oh.
Just as a feedback. But you don't need a machine to know that, because your body starts to just, I feel like I create more space in my system now. Yeah. So that's called a physiological sigh. You can look it up on YouTube. There's lots of.
I think I've heard it.
Yeah, it's medically studied to work and change the physiology. So it's approved by the scientific method. Yeah.
I even heard you can do 2 sides, right? Side? Do I say
2 sides?
Like you do.
Yeah. There's lots of variations.
Yeah.
The simplest is just in for 4.
Yeah.
Then release it for double the time rate. So what you're doing there is you're using the life breath to re-oxygenate, but also re-harmonize your emotional state. Yeah. Now, when you start to bring your attention to your breathing, you're taking your attention away from the anxious object. Right? So it's like, I'm obsessed, it's anxious, I haven't got this, I haven't got that. Okay, so you close your eyes, you're breathing, and you just discipline yourself to focus on the breath coming in. I feel it through my nostrils. So you bring all your attention to the breath. Yeah? And I'm anxious. No, bro, okay. You keep bringing yourself back, right? So it's a little bit of discipline, but that's why it's good to practice it when you're not anxious. So you like establish the practice. Right? So you now know you can become a master of this really super simple breath practice, or pranayama. It's very basic. Pranayama, very basic breath practice. But it resets your system and regulates your nervous system. So it starts to activate the you got sympathetic, you got the parasympathetic system. Yeah. So your whole system starts to soften and relax, become more gentle. So if you do that, then you gently open your eyes, even if the object of your anxiety, which was there before, because you've changed your state, is taking the charge out of it. Yeah. So this is about deepening into that present state of awareness again. That's what breathing does. It takes us back in to reconnect to ourselves. I feel there's a deeper question to ask around anxiety, which is the nature of who am I, see? Because if we keep orientating ourselves towards this ego, or the emotion, or the sensation, or the belief system, and we identify as this, then we're identifying as a fragment. And the fragment is going to feel terrified, because it's fragmented away from the whole.
I don't know if I understand this.
Okay. So the whole nature of ego has the appearance of separation.
Yeah.
It believes I'm separate from you, I'm separate from source, I'm separate from God or life or love. Yeah? And so the ego goes on a pursuit of self-survival, yeah, which is anxiety itself. It is the whole nature of anxiety is to be in one's ego as an ego. Unless you're talking about the pure ego. Ego means I, the one, like the one I, but the ego normally is referred to as the I of many, many egos. Yeah. So in its in the pure sense, ego is Atma, it's God, it's one. Yeah. But in its fragmented, it's all the appearance of all the personalities. Yeah. Now, if we identify ourselves as a fragment of separation, then we then put ourselves into a state of terror, because we've separated ourselves from our source energy, from the wholeness, from our state of connection and peace that comes from that connection. So you're naturally in survival mode. It's not naturally, you're unnaturally in survival mode. Yeah. And you're always afraid.
Yeah.
And
I know.
Always alert and always looking
for danger.
So for me, the nature of anxiety itself also considers the question about who am I being as a being. Yeah, so it really offers an existential. And you can look at it's like a disease of the culture, see, anxiety. Everyone's anxious at some level. But it could also be a misidentification of self. What is the culture that we live in? It's materialistic culture. It's very grounded in the earth, and it's capitalist. It's get and have and take and destroy and everything else. It's this whole this warring mentality, that people live in on a survival basis. And perhaps there's a deeper consideration that maybe that's not who I am, who we really are. And you only have to meditate for 5 minutes to discover that's the case. You don't have to go up a mountain or go to India. It's like you can just close your eyes and breathe in and breathe out. Like, spacious awareness. All the mindfulness practices that have been around for the last 10, 15 years have been beautiful for this, to train people in this state of awareness, state of presence. Eckhart Tolle is a brilliant example in just coming to a state of being and presence, where you're kind of just watching the world happen. It's like
he's very like
he's observing it from that I am space. It's just occurring. I'm sad. It's not such a big deal.
Yeah.
It's an emotion. It will move in and out of the pond. Do you see? It's just like. But if you define yourself as it, it's like, oh, I'm sad. I'm really sad. I'm depressed. It's like it's a whole sequence of spirals.
You go down.
Yeah. But if you remain as the I am, I'm watching myself, and then carrying this sadness. Someone's just died. Someone's left. Whatever's the trigger. Yeah. But you're just observing it, being with it, loving it. So you're not detached from the experience. You're present with the experience, watching it. So I think there's also a mistake sometimes around awareness that people think, well, that's a disembodied.
Yeah. You just.
But I'm watching the body while the body is still being the body. And there's an absolute relationship. It's a bit like you've got this wise elder wizard inside of you constantly, who's with you in loving presence and awareness. And I feel this is the deepest medicine when I look at the whole nature of anxiety, is the invitation to like reorientate yourself back to the heart and who you really are, and finding a state of peace. Which is not based on circumstances or conditions or relationships. It's like a peace that goes beyond understanding. It's the peace of being, which comes when you feel connected.
When we talk about it like this, I realized that it all started 1 year ago with panic attacks, and now I'm realizing that I don't have panic attacks anymore. Like it was much worse.
Yeah.
And I remember that the only thing helped was really to be with it, as you said, like to observe it, to be with it, and then maybe do some things that I needed. And that's how I kind of got rid of panic attacks. I don't want to say that because, I feel like it's not good to have this mindset of, oh, I want to get rid of it. But I don't have panic attacks anymore, and I only have anxiety, but sometimes I still get impatient and I want to run away. I notice this sometimes, that there's this part in me that, anxiety, oh my God, I want to run away, I want to get rid of it. So it's good that you reminded me of this, that I have been doing for a year already, like to really be with it. It's not my enemy.
Maybe you can also listen to it. It's like, anxiety is here to remind me, I forgot who I am. It's like, I forgot who I am. Oh, I've been busy being attached. I've been busy being my emotions and my sensations and my beliefs. I've been busy getting lost in relationship or in the politics or in the world. I've forgotten to be my center. So it's like a reorienting. It's like anxiety, signaling, come back. So you're using it as a friend and an ally to course correct. So anxiety comes up, it's just, I've been too much over there, I've been too much into that, I've been too much attached into this. And I haven't been nourishing center, source. I feel there's two important things. Well, there's several important things, but one is coming back to center, to who we really are. But the other is also learning a whole load of tools. There's so many movement tools and breath tools and tapping tools and focus tools and eye movement tools. There's so many things available which are brilliant. Yeah. And these interventions, and some of them are interventions, and some of them are daily practices that they help you just re-establish the connection. But if you're just doing the tools without the deep connection to self, then you're missing something huge. Do you see? So I call this the balance between paradigm and practice. The paradigm is the view, who am I, who am I being? And the practice is all the tools and techniques and breaths and meditations and visualizations. And there's lots, you can look on YouTube forever at different anxiety techniques. But if you consider yourself just as a technique, then you're trying to fix something, which is what you were talking about before. And maybe you're not broken. Maybe it's just a reorientation to come back to a deeper center, which is always here, awareness. So it's an invitation to come back.
I feel like that's a big shift. Like before, I felt like I was broken, but when you stop thinking about yourself as a broken, I feel like the healing can start. It's a huge shift. At least it was for me. And what you said, it really resonates with me, because I feel like that year ago, or that day 1 year ago, I felt like I didn't longer feel like I was what I was before. I don't know how to explain it. Like I felt like, I am not this anymore. I'm not this. I started seeing this. Like I was, I had my business. I was doing lot of things, and then I suddenly saw, oh my God, I'm not this. I am not happy in those relationships. And I was like, what? But who am I if I'm not all this? Who am I? And this is maybe the inner conflict that I still have. Like, who am I? You know, like.
But see, then your soul gives you a panic attack, which is like, you're not this.
Yeah.
So, oh, I'm really not this. This feels horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
This is scary. This is panicky.
Yeah.
And I'm panicked because I'm so far away from my center.
100%.
It's like I'm lost as the emotion. I'm lost in the sensation, and now I've created a physiology where my heart is beating fast. Right? So it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. Like the more you focus on it, the bigger it gets, which is like kind of the worst part of it. It can be very small anxiety, like a slight irritation, slight tension, and suddenly it's like it grows very fast because you give it more attention. So you got to be careful not to join the anxiety club. See, it's like, oh, I'm not just this. Right? That's why the training in the witnessing of it, in the breathing around it, in the nourishing, and the tools and techniques of intervention are hugely important to practice them often on a daily basis, so they become part of your natural way of being. You've integrated them into your lifestyle, and you start to notice early warning signals. It's like which are course correcting signals. It's like you've had too much coffee, you haven't slept. It's like you're doing too many projects, you're chasing too many goals. You know, you're driving your nervous system to a breaking point, and anxiety starts to appear as an energetic response to overwhelm. It's like there's too much over willful push and focus in my life. So again, it's course correct. It's like, what can I do to nourish myself and slow down and pace myself, and where you're going to be more efficient, more effective, and more enjoyable in your life experience, and probably get a lot more done in the workplace, in the world, in relationships. Yeah. So this whole kind of stress culture, and disorientation, because a materialistic culture that's kind of lost God. You know, it's loss of the sacredness. Yeah, there's a loss of religion, but it's like the sacred is disappearing from. You can see it in the wars, like this inhumane warring that's happening on the planet. You know, you couldn't do that if you had empathy, if the heart was open. How could you kill another human being who's your brother and sister?
You cannot. No.
Yeah. Instead they get to like belief systems of like, this person is an animal, this person is this and this and this. And you know, suddenly it becomes a whole other territory that we're living in, which is survivalist, which is competitive, and which is self-destructive. Now it's okay to compete, but if you compete from the heart, then you both grow together. That was the whole purpose of the Olympic Games in the old days. Is you're not there to dominate and win and destroy the other. You're both growing together to both get better. And today you win, and tomorrow I win. You know, it's because you're both growing and evolving. It's like this fusion of growth process. But now it's like growth domination. You know, pushing down. So I think there's something to say about the whole cultural is designed to produce anxious people. You know, because it's a disorientation of self. So there's something there in the paradigm shift to really consider the question. It's like, if a culture is the manifestation of multiple egos, because the culture is not a thing. It's manifested through our attitudes. There's a synergy of multiple attitudes that conform to create the cultural view that is present. But that's not everybody. There's other people creating alternative cultures, different views, different ways. And there are as many ways as there are people, but they may not be as mainstream, see? But the mainstream dominant culture is creating what I would consider this kind of anxiety hot pot. You know, because it's based in fear, it's based in tension, it's based in competition, and it's based in a misunderstanding of self. You're not just your emotions, you're not just your thoughts and beliefs. You know, so you are the awareness which surrounds them. And you can also have moments where there's no emotion happening, no thought happening, no sensation happening. There's just awareness. It's like you close and breathe in, you come to a still place, and that is equally life. You see, and this is something we've defined life sometimes by the overstimulation, super sugar, or really intense events, or highs. It's like, and that's what it means to be alive. Is that what it means to be alive, or is life like a delicate breath, or like a flower opening softly in the forest? There's lots of alternative ways to understand our aliveness. But we're tricked and lied to and manipulated and conned and deceived into pushing ourselves into this marketplace. And at some level it's not our fault. We've become blinkered and blinded and hypnotized by the repetition, the sheer repetition of the messaging. Get this, buy this, have this, you're not enough, you're too thin, you're too fat, you're too old, you're too small, skin's do this, do that. It's like we're constantly pushed into an environment where there can only be stress. So it's like there's something much bigger than you personally having anxiety. It's like we're living in a sea, an anxious sea, does it? And it's like we need to unpollute the sea and shift our way of seeing the nature of water, the life that we are. And I feel what happened in your case is that, it was a wake up call. Yeah. Panic attack was taking you on a spiritual journey to deepen into yourself.
I agree. Yeah.
And then you have like this much milder now. Mild anxiety is a little bit like, well, that's a good signaling system.
Yeah.
Is that you're more and more connected to who and how you really are.
Yeah. I agree. Like I started to see through the illusion, let's say, how caught up we are in the I don't even know how to call it, matrix, let's say. And so I think it's a good sign that I don't have panic attacks anymore, and I just have the mild anxiety. And I think it's important for me just to be patient with myself, to just keep going. I think I'm on a good journey, let's say, good path. And it's, I think about it's I feel like you confirmed right now like what I was thinking already. So I feel like good about it.
And the thing is, if you're not in the anxiety club, if you're not defined as I'm anxiety or I'm an anxious person, if you haven't made that definition for yourself, you also recognize, I'm also a grateful person and a talented person.
True,
and
I have
an
other
expressive
parts.
person. Right, but I'm equally not defined by them. They are movements of expression. Do you see? And it's like, you've got thousands of parts actually. If you observe I'm now a sleeping identity, I'm now an eating identity, I'm now a dressing identity. It's like, if you want to name them all, identify, you could do in lots of clubs. Every club of expression, it's to do with the nature of attachment. Is that the attachment to the object, it just reduces your level of being. It's like you're saying, I'm just this. You're like this infinite life being, do you see? It's like this huge possibility field, quantum field. It's like the science is offering us a new version of like what the soul could look like. It's this vibrating, tingling, energetic force of quantum intelligence, see? And if you define yourself as I'm just this tiny little particle of something, then you like reduce yourself into like a little box. But you put yourself there, or culture hypnotize you to put yourself there, and you can equally just let go of the box. You just break free of that concept of self and think, no, that's just a movement of expression. So right now I'm being anxious, right now I'm being happy, right now I'm being sad. So you're not making like the top of the mountain like have to be ecstatic and joyful and peaceful the whole time. You can have all the waves of the human experience. You're just not defining yourself by it. Because some people also feel the opposite pressure. I should be a positive person. Or I shouldn't be anxious. I'm bad. There's something wrong with me. So anxiety is a natural part of existence when there's survival and competition. All these things, right? It's not natural. It's unnatural. But it's like we're engaged in it because it's part of the air that we're breathing. But we use it to come back to center and grow ourselves and get more and more connected. Then you can be with a whole range of emotions. Angry, anxious, grieving, joyful, beautiful, lovely, grateful. It's like the whole range of emotions becomes available, and you let them move in and out of your experience. You just don't define yourself as them. And then make sure you spend some time dwelling in just empty awareness. That's what the Buddhists talk about. Like that emptiness where you just let it all go. At the end of the night, just let it wash out of your system. There's nothing you can do about it. You're sleeping now. Right, just drop it, drop the bills and the stress and the relationship problem and this and that. Let it go, just like, it's like some people got a death pose, you drop everything. Right, you give it up. It's like, I surrender. Right, and then you empty out and you reset yourself because you come back out as pure source energy. And you wake up the next morning back into your identities again and off you go. But the next day is more source energy. And then slowly it starts to come through. It starts to radiate through the personalities and through the emotions. And you realize there's something else here. There's not just the emotion here. The awareness is like brightens the emotion. It brightens the thought. It brightens the sensation and the relationship. So I feel that you could use anxiety, the appearance of that as a indicator, as a course correcting to like really deepen a beautiful connection with yourself.
That's beautiful when you put it this way. And also I realized that I can I can choose different qualities, right? Like it doesn't like maybe if I feel or if I observe anxiety, I can also at the same time observe gratitude. It's possible.
If you create that spacious awareness, you're creating the possibility of choice.
Exactly.
Because you're creating a focus. When you're in it, it's like you've collapsed your focus.
Yeah.
When you have spacious awareness, you have a choice. I could focus here, or I could focus here, or I could just come back here. I could come back to a space where the focus is just back in itself as the one who could focus. Yeah, to focus means there's a focuser.
Exactly.
Me. There's awareness. Yeah. Right? Because we often get so busy. I should focus. Who's focusing? Who's the I? Who's focusing? Right? Well, maybe sometimes you don't have to focus all the time. Right? There's intensity of like, I need to be focused. Yeah. I can just be the focuser who's just having a day off. You know, just being. Yeah. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Is you create spacious awareness, and you create a choice. I'm not going to fully go into that. I'm not going to give that anxiety more attention. I'm not going to grow that fire with more logs. You know, I'm actually going to take a breath and look at the flowers, or enjoy the sun, or just have a moment with myself. And that's a really good training protocol to do that, to recognize I have the capacity to choose. Yeah. But when you're so collapsed into it, there's no space to choose. So you have to practice awareness, create space, and then you make a new choice. Yeah.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.